Learning. You will go far. Alex felt a warm glow inside. Even small recognition made his heart lighter. Back home, Alex opened his English book again. He read aloud, careful with every word. Emma sat beside him, copying his pronunciation. Their small room felt full of life, even if the house outside was old and cold. Alex realized that learning English was not just for school. It was a way to connect with the world. Each word was a small bridge to new possibilities. But challenges came quickly. One afternoon, Alex's mother fell ill. She had a fever and could not leave the bed. Alex had to cook, clean, and take care of Emma while still attending school. His energy was low, and some days he felt he could not continue. He sat by the window looking at the gray sky and whispered, "I can't stop now. I must help them and keep learning." That night, Alex had a small idea. He would combine his English practice with helping his mother. He read aloud to her while she rested, explaining the words slowly. "Mother, this word means hope," he said gently. "It means never giving up." She smiled weakly and whispered, "You have hope, Alex. You will succeed." His heart lifted. He realized that learning English was not just for himself. It was a gift he could share with others. The next week brought a new challenge. A school test in English was announced. Alex's classmates were nervous, but he felt a mix of excitement and fear. He studied day and night, writing new words, making sentences, and reading stories aloud. The night before the test, he could hardly sleep. His small room was quiet, except for Emma's soft breathing. He whispered to himself, "I can do this. I will try my best." The test day arrived. Alex's hands were cold as he wrote the answers. Some questions were hard, but he remembered the stories he had read and the words he had practiced. He wrote carefully, using simple English, but with clear meaning. After the test, he walked home slowly, feeling both fear and hope. "I did my best. That is all that matters," he thought. A few days later, Mrs. Harris returned the test results. Alex had scored very well for his level. The teacher smiled and said, "Alex, you have worked hard and it shows. Your progress is amazing." Alex could hardly believe it. He had faced so many problems, poverty, fear, illness, but his small steps had made a difference. From that moment, Alex realized something important. Learning English was not only about speaking or reading. It was about courage, persistence, and caring for others. Every story he read and every word he learned became a small victory, a step toward a better life. That evening, Alex sat by the window with Emma. He held his notebook and read aloud a new story. Emma listened, wide-eyed, and clapped when he finished. Alex smiled, feeling hope grow inside him. He knew the journey was long and many challenges were ahead. But he also knew that with courage, patience, and love, he could overcome anything. And so, Alex's journey continued. Each day brought small lessons, small victories, and small acts of courage. The boy who once feared the world outside his small house was slowly becoming a young learner full of hope, ready to face new challenges and eager to grow. The next morning, Alex woke to a gray sky and a light drizzle tapping against the window. The cold air made the small room feel even smaller, but he was determined to start the day. He opened his notebook and read aloud the words he had learned. Courage, dream, hope. Each word felt like a small shield, protecting him from fear. Emma stirred beside him and mumbled, "Are we going to school today?" Alex smiled gently. "Yes, little one. Every day is a step forward." At school, the English club was buzzing with excitement. Today, a new student had joined, named Brian. Brian was confident, fast-talking, and often laughed at others' mistakes. Alex felt a twinge of fear. He had never been around someone so bold. When Mrs. Harris asked them to pair up for a speaking exercise, Alex ended up with Brian. Alex's hands trembled, and he whispered to himself, "Stay calm, do your best." Brian started quickly, speaking long sentences with fancy words. Alex struggled to keep up. He felt small, nervous, and unsure. But then he remembered the library, the park bench, and the first story he had read aloud. Taking a deep breath, he began to speak slowly, using the words he knew clearly. "Like to learn English. It helps me understand the world. Brian paused, surprised by Alex's confidence and clear speech. For the first time, Alex noticed a small smile on Brian's face. The day continued with small victories and challenges. At lunch, Alex helped Emma with her sandwich while reading a short story to her. The words sounded strange at first, but as he repeated them, he felt stronger. Even the older kids in the cafeteria started to notice him. A few smiled politely and one whispered, "That boy reads stories well." Alex's chest swelled with quiet pride. These small moments reminded him that learning English was about more than grades. It was about connecting with people. But challenges never stayed away for long. That afternoon, a letter arrived for Alex. It was from the city office. His mother's illness had caused unpaid bills to pile up. The family could lose their small house if they did not pay immediately. Alex felt a cold weight in his chest. The words blurred before his eyes, and he sat on the steps outside the school, trying to breathe. How can I pay? I barely have money for food. He thought of Mr. Lee, the store owner who had always helped him, and of the library where he had spent hours reading. Maybe I can find a small job, even if it is hard. Alex stood slowly, determination forming like a spark in his heart. He would work, save, and protect his family. Learning English would not stop. It would help him find better opportunities. The next day, Alex visited Mr. Lee and asked for extra work. "Of course, Alex," Mr. Lee said, handing him boxes to carry. "You are a good boy. Hard work will pay off." Alex smiled, taking each box carefully, thinking of the bills and his mother's smile. He worked long hours after school, carrying, cleaning, and organizing, all while practicing English in his head. Every small word he learned was repeated softly between tasks. One evening, exhausted but determined, Alex sat by the window with Emma. He read aloud a story about a brave boy who never gave up, even when the world was against him. Emma listened quietly, her eyes wide with admiration. "Alex," she said softly, "you are brave like the boy in your story." Alex hugged her gently. "No, little one. We are brave together. And we must keep trying every day." School became even more challenging. English tests, homework, and new words piled up, but Alex approached them with patience. He remembered the first story he read aloud in class, the small victory he had felt, and the quiet encouragement of Mrs. Harris. Slowly, his reading improved, his confidence grew, and even Brian began to respect him. Alex realized that persistence, even in the smallest steps, could change how people saw him, and how he saw himself. Then came the unexpected. One rainy afternoon, Alex's mother's condition worsened. He stayed by her side all night, reading softly, trying to keep her calm. His small body trembled with fear, but he whispered words of hope, love, and courage. "I must be strong. I must help her." The next morning, after she rested, Alex knew he needed to act. He could not rely only on small jobs anymore. He needed a bigger opportunity, one that would help his family and support his dreams. That evening, Alex remembered a poster at school about a city English storytelling contest. The winner would receive a scholarship and a small cash prize. His heart raced. It was a chance, a real chance, but also a huge challenge. He had never spoken in front of so many strangers, and the words had to be perfect. He opened his notebook and began practicing, reading aloud stories, and repeating new words until they felt natural. He even asked Emma to listen and clap for him, giving him the courage to continue. As the contest day approached, Alex felt nervous and excited. He understood that this was bigger than a small victory at school. It was a test of everything he had learned: his English, his courage, and his perseverance. He whispered to himself, "I can do this. I will not give up. I must try." And so, Alex prepared for the biggest step yet. A chance to change his life, to help his family, and to show the world the courage that had been growing quietly inside him for so long. The morning of the storytelling contest arrived with a gray sky and soft drizzle. Alex woke early, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness twisting in his stomach. He looked at Emma sleeping peacefully beside him and whispered, "I will try my best for both of us." He got dressed neatly, brushed his hair, and held his notebook tightly. Every word he had practiced over weeks now felt alive in his mind. At the contest hall, the room was buzzing with students, teachers, and judges. Bright lights shone on the stage, and a soft murmur of voices filled the air. Alex's hands trembled as he clutched his notebook. He watched other contestants confidently reciting stories, some using gestures, others speaking fast and smooth. Fear began to creep in. What if I forget my words? What if I fail in front of everyone? When it was his turn, Alex walked to the stage slowly, every step heavy but determined. He took a deep breath, feeling the hot stage lights on his face. The hall seemed larger than any place he had been before. The audience stared silently, waiting. His heart pounded loudly, almost drowning the quiet confidence he had built over weeks. He opened his notebook and began to speak. At first, his voice was shaky. Words came slowly, sometimes breaking mid-sentence. He felt his courage slipping. The audience whispered, and Alex's face grew hot. He froze, forgetting the next line, and his chest tightened with fear. Panic rose inside him like a storm. I can't do this. I'll fail. He wanted to run away, hide, and never speak again. Then he remembered his mother, sick and tired, depending on him to help. He thought of Emma, looking up to him as a guide and protector. He thought of the long hours reading stories, the days of hard work, and every small step that had brought him here. I can't give up now. I must keep trying. Alex straightened his back, took a deep breath, and whispered softly to himself, one word at a time. He began again, slowly, clearly, and with careful pronunciation. Each word built on the last, forming sentences that painted pictures for the audience. He told the story of a brave boy who never gave up, a boy who faced fear and found hope. He included emotions, pauses, and gestures, letting his heart guide his voice rather than fear. The audience leaned forward, listening intently, drawn into the world he created. By the middle of the story, Alex felt a new strength rising inside him. He looked at the judges and noticed smiles forming. He looked at other contestants and saw them nodding, impressed by his determination. His voice became steadier, richer, full of confidence, and the fear that had tried to stop him melted away. He was no longer just reciting words. He was sharing his journey, his courage, and his hope with everyone in the hall. When he finished, the hall was silent for a moment. Then, soft applause began, slowly growing louder. Alex's chest swelled with pride, not just for speaking well, but for facing his fear and continuing despite the challenge. He stepped down from the stage, feeling lighter than he had in weeks. Mrs. Harris came to him, her eyes shining. Alex, that was wonderful. You showed real courage today, she said. Alex smiled, feeling a deep sense of accomplishment. However, the contest wasn't over yet. The judges discussed quietly, and Alex waited anxiously. He knew the prize could change his family's life, but he also knew he had already won something greater: confidence, courage, and belief in himself. Finally, the head judge stood and announced the winners. Alex's name was called for second place. A small cash prize and a scholarship came with it. His heart leaped. He had not won first place, but he had achieved something bigger than he imagined. Alex rushed home with the news, holding the prize tightly. His mother hugged him with tears in her eyes, and Emma cheered loudly. You did it, Alex. You were brave, she exclaimed. Alex knelt beside them, smiling. We did it together, he said softly. He understood now that success wasn't just about winning. It was about persistence, love, and courage. With the prize money, Alex paid the overdue bills, easing the family's burden. He also used some to buy new books and notebooks for his younger classmates, hoping they could learn as he had. The contest became a turning point in his life. It showed him that even when fear is strong, determination and patience could overcome it. But life, as always, had more lessons waiting. The following weeks brought new responsibilities and opportunities. Alex was asked to help other students improve their English through storytelling. He hesitated at first, unsure of how to teach what he had learned. But he remembered the support he had received, from his mother, from Mrs. Harris, and from the quiet hours of practice. He began to guide others, sharing simple stories, helping them pronounce words, and encouraging them to believe in themselves. Through teaching, Alex discovered something remarkable. Helping others made him stronger. The small victories of his students reminded him of his own journey, and he realized that courage could spread quietly like the warmth of sunlight. He learned that success wasn't only about prizes or recognition, it was about touching lives, giving hope, and sharing kindness. One evening, sitting by the window with Emma, Alex thought about the journey so far. From the small room in their old house to the stage of the contest, from fear to courage, he had grown more than he could have imagined. He whispered to himself, "This is only the beginning. There is so much more to learn, so much more to give." And for the first time in a long while, Alex felt ready for whatever challenges life would bring next. After the contest, life seemed calmer for Alex, but challenges never truly ended. The small victory had brought hope, yet new problems appeared quietly, like shadows creeping at sunset. One afternoon, Alex's mother fell ill again. This time, her condition was worse. She could barely get out of bed, and Alex had to manage everything: cooking, cleaning, and taking care of Emma. The prize money helped a little, but it could not heal her overnight. Alex felt a heavy weight on his shoulders. He tried to stay strong, waking early to prepare medicine and warm meals. Emma helped where she could, but she was young, and Alex had to carry most of the responsibility. Every day, he thought about the contest, the prize, and how proud everyone was of him. Yet, he realized that courage in a stage contest was nothing compared to the courage needed to face life's real problems. One evening, while reading by his mother's bedside, Alex thought about giving up. "Why is life so hard?" he whispered softly. Tears rolled down his cheeks. Emma held his hand. "We can do this together," she said. Alex nodded, feeling both sadness and determination. He understood that fear and failure were part of life, but giving up was never an option. To earn extra money, Alex took a small tutoring job at the local school. He taught basic English and storytelling to younger children, using the methods that had helped him succeed. It was tiring, waking early, working at home, and teaching, but seeing the children improve made him feel alive. Their smiles reminded him of why he worked so hard and why he could never quit, no matter how heavy the burden felt. Days passed, and his mother's condition slowly improved. Alex never left her side when she needed him. He would sit by her bed, telling small stories, reading aloud from his notebook, and sometimes just holding her hand. One night, she looked at him weakly but with pride in her eyes. "Alex, you've grown so strong," she whispered. "Not just as a son, but as a kind, brave young man." Alex felt his chest fill with warmth. Her words reminded him of Mr. Adams' lesson about courage and care. One morning, the school principal approached Alex with an important request. A citywide storytelling competition was coming, and he wanted Alex to represent the school. The prize was much bigger this time: a scholarship for advanced studies and recognition across the city. Alex hesitated. He knew he would have to leave his mother and Emma alone for long hours, and the responsibility frightened him. What if I fail? What if something happens at home? After long thought, Alex decided he could not refuse. He promised his mother and Emma that he would return quickly, and he planned carefully to make sure they had everything they needed. He worked harder than ever, practicing stories, pronunciation, gestures, and emotions. Every day, he felt nervous, but he remembered the lesson from his first contest: one word at a time, one step at a time. The day of the city competition arrived, and Alex felt a mix of excitement and fear. The hall was massive, filled with bright lights, cameras, and hundreds of people. Contestants spoke fluently, confident and poised. Alex's hands shook, and his heart pounded. He thought of his mother lying at home, Emma waiting, and the responsibility he carried. He realized that this competition was not just about winning. It was about proving to himself that courage could overcome fear. When he stepped on the stage, he felt the weight of silence. Everyone stared, waiting. He opened his notebook, took a deep breath, and began to speak. This time, his voice was steady from the start. He told a story about hope, courage, and love, about a young boy who faced problems, never gave up, and found strength in care and patience. He included pauses, gestures, and emotions, letting the audience feel every moment. Halfway through, Alex noticed a young boy in the front row, eyes wide, hanging on every word. Alex realized that just as he had been inspired by stories, he was now inspiring others. That thought filled him with confidence. He spoke louder, clearer, and with more heart than ever. By the time he finished, the hall erupted in applause. Alex felt tears in his eyes, not for victory, but for knowing he had faced fear and helped others feel hope. After the competition, the judges announced the results. Alex won first place. The scholarship and recognition were incredible, but more important, he had proven to himself that courage, patience, and care could overcome even the hardest challenges. When he returned home, he was greeted by his mother and Emma, both proud and happy. Alex hugged them tightly. He understood that true success was not about prizes alone. It was about love, responsibility, and persistence. After winning the city competition, Alex returned home feeling proud, yet he knew life's challenges were far from over. The scholarship he had earned was a blessing, but it meant leaving home for long periods to attend classes in the city. His mother was still weak, and Emma relied on him for almost everything. Alex felt torn between his dreams and his responsibilities. That evening he sat by his mother's bedside, holding her hand. "I want to go to the city and learn more, Mom," he said softly. "But I promise I will never leave you alone." His mother smiled weakly but proudly. "Alex, you have courage in your heart. But always remember where you come from. Family and love matter more than fame or awards." Alex nodded, tears forming in his eyes. He realized that the journey ahead would test not only his skills but his patience, his strength, and his ability to balance responsibility with ambition. The next morning, Alex packed a small bag, carefully placing his notebook, his favorite pen, and a few mementos from home. Emma hugged him tightly. "Don't forget us," she whispered. Alex promised he would write every day, call when he could, and return as soon as possible. He knew that the road ahead was uncertain, but he felt ready. In the city, Alex faced a world full of new challenges. Classes were tough, the language was sometimes confusing, and the other students were confident and experienced. At first, he struggled to keep up. Many nights, he stayed awake, reading textbooks, practicing English aloud, and rewriting notes to understand better. Sometimes, he wanted to give up, thinking he was not as talented as others. But then he remembered the lessons from home in the first contest. Small steps every day lead to big changes. One day, while struggling with a writing assignment, Alex felt frustrated and alone. He sat under a tree outside the campus, staring at the sky. A senior student noticed him and asked if he was okay. Alex hesitated but explained his struggles. The senior smiled warmly. "We all start somewhere. Keep working. Don't compare yourself to others. Your heart and patience will take you far." That simple advice lifted his spirits. Alex realized that help could come in unexpected ways, and accepting it did not make him weak. Weeks turned into months. Alex studied hard, attended workshops, and practiced speaking in front of small groups. Every day, he grew more confident. His English improved, not just in grammar and vocabulary, but in expression and storytelling. He remembered Mr. Adams' words about patience, care, and honesty. Each story he wrote or told reflected lessons from his life, struggles, and small victories. Back home, his mother's health slowly returned, thanks to better care and consistent treatment. Emma managed well with neighbors' help. They wrote letters to Alex, sharing small joys and daily life events. Reading those letters reminded Alex why he worked so hard. It was not just for himself, but for the people who loved and depended on him. One evening, the school announced a citywide storytelling festival. Alex decided to participate. This time, the competition was tougher, with older students and professional speakers. He felt nervous but excited. He chose a story inspired by his own life, a young boy facing challenges, caring for family, and finding courage through persistence and love. He practiced for days, improving his gestures, tone, and pacing. The festival day arrived. Alex stepped onto the stage, heart pounding. The hall was filled with people, lights, and cameras. He felt a rush of fear but took a deep breath and began. His voice was steady, and his words carried emotion, care, and life experience. He spoke about love, patience, courage, and hope, weaving small lessons from home, his mother's illness, Emma's support, and his city struggles into the story. Midway through, the audience leaned forward, listening intently. Alex noticed a young boy in the front row, shy and anxious, much like he had been months ago. That moment reminded him that his story could inspire others. He spoke louder, clearer, and with full heart, sharing lessons of responsibility, persistence, and the quiet strength of family love. By the end, the hall erupted into applause. Alex did not just win the festival, he became a role model for younger students. Judges praised his authenticity, emotion, and ability to connect with the audience. Alex realized that success was not about prizes alone but about touching lives, inspiring courage, and sharing hope. Returning home after the festival, Alex hugged his mother and Emma tightly. "I did it, but only because of you," he said. They smiled, proud and teary-eyed. Alex understood that life's biggest lessons were not learned on a stage, but in quiet moments of struggle, care, and patience. He had grown stronger, wiser, and more compassionate, ready to face whatever challenges awaited him next. The months passed quickly. Alex continued his studies, and each day brought new lessons, challenges, and small victories. He learned not only English but life skills, patience, discipline, and empathy. The city became less intimidating, and he found friends who encouraged him, laughed with him, and shared their own struggles. Alex realized that every person had a story, and listening carefully was as important as speaking well. Back home, his mother had fully recovered, and Emma had grown more confident in managing the household. Letters and phone calls kept them connected, reminding Alex of the life he came from and the people who mattered most. One day, his mother said softly, "Alex, your father and I always wanted you to dream big. But remember, the greatest dream is to help others." Alex thought about her words deeply. He had learned to chase success, but the real joy was in giving, sharing, and caring. Soon, an opportunity arose that would test everything he had learned. His school offered an international storytelling contest, inviting students from all over the country. Alex hesitated at first. The competition was huge, and he had never traveled alone before. But then he remembered the first time he had taken small steps toward his dream. Every small effort had led to bigger changes. He knew he had to try. In the new city, Alex met students from diverse backgrounds. They were talented, confident, and polished. At first, he felt nervous, thinking he didn't belong. But then he remembered the advice of his senior friend. "Don't compare yourself, focus on your story, and speak from your heart." Alex practiced every evening, refining his story, practicing pronunciation, and working on. Alex was only 10 years old when he realized life was not easy. He lived in a small, old house at the edge of the city with his mother and younger sister, Emma. His father had left years ago, and his mother worked long hours as a cleaner to provide food and shelter. The house was quiet most of the day, except for the sound of dripping water from the broken roof. Alex often slept on the floor, wrapped in an old, thin blanket. At night, he could hear the wind blowing through the broken windows, and he sometimes shivered from fear. School was a struggle too. Alex loved learning, but his shoes were worn out, and he did not have the books or notebooks he needed. His classmates sometimes laughed at him because of his old clothes. Despite this, Alex never gave up. He wanted a better life for himself and his sister. He dreamed of reading stories, traveling, and speaking English fluently, even though it seemed impossible at times. One cold morning, Alex woke up early. He had decided to try something new. Instead of going straight to school, he picked up an old notebook and began to write simple words in English. He had found a small dictionary at the market for a few coins. Every morning, before leaving the house, he practiced writing and reading aloud. "I can do this," he whispered to himself. "I will learn English no matter what." Life did not make it easy. One day, as he walked to school, he dropped his only notebook in the mud. It was torn, wet, and unreadable. Alex felt a wave of sadness and frustration. He sat by the roadside, looking at the ruined pages, and tears came to his eyes. He thought about giving up, but then he remembered his mother. She had always worked hard, never complaining. She had taught him to stay strong. I will not stop, he said, picking up the wet pages. The next day, Alex tried something small but important. He decided to visit the local library. It was far from his house, but he walked slowly, step by step, holding his sister's hand. The library smelled of old books and dust, but Alex loved it. He could see rows of English storybooks. They were not easy to read, but he borrowed one small book with simple words. Every day after school, he sat on the park bench and read aloud. Sometimes people looked at him strangely, but Alex ignored them. He focused on learning. Challenges came quickly. One afternoon, a group of older kids pushed him while he was reading. They laughed at his broken shoes and shouted, "Go home, poor boy. You don't belong here." Alex's heart pounded with fear. He wanted to run, but he did not. He stood up slowly, brushed off the dirt, and whispered, "I belong here. I can learn." His small act of courage made him feel stronger. He went home that evening and told his mother. She smiled, touched his face, and said, "I am proud of you. Keep going, Alex." Even though he faced bullying and poverty, Alex did not stop. Every morning, he woke early, read his English book, and wrote new words in his notebook. Sometimes, he practiced with his sister. Emma learned quickly and giggled as Alex read the stories to her. Their small house began to feel warmer, not because of the roof or the lights, but because of hope. Alex's first big step was simple but powerful. He decided to join a small English club at school, even though he felt nervous. The teacher welcomed him kindly and asked him to read aloud. At first, his voice was shaky and he made many mistakes. Some kids giggled, but others listened carefully. Alex did not stop. He read every day, and slowly his pronunciation improved. He started feeling proud of himself. By the end of the week, Alex could read an entire page without stopping. He felt a new energy inside him. For the first time, he believed that he could really improve his English. Even small words seemed magical to him. Words like dream, hope, and friend became his favorites. He wrote them down and repeated them every day. Even with all the struggles, Alex had one secret strength. He never gave up hope. He knew life was hard, but he also knew that learning English could open a new world for him. Every time he read a new story, he imagined himself traveling, talking to people in other cities, and helping his mother and sister live better. His small steps were slowly becoming a big journey. And so, Alex's story began. A boy with little money, big dreams, and a heart full of hope. He was only 10, but he had started walking the first steps toward a better life, one English word at a time. The next morning, Alex woke up before the sun. The first rays of light barely touched the small room, but Alex was already wide awake. He opened his notebook and read the words he had learned yesterday. Dream. Friend. He smiled and whispered each word slowly, letting the sound settle in his mind. Emma was still sleeping, her small chest rising and falling with each breath. Alex looked at her and thought, I must learn faster. I must give her a better life. At school, the English club was waiting. Today, the teacher, Mrs. Harris, had a special activity. She wanted each student to tell a short story in simple English. Alex's heart pounded. He had never spoken in front of so many people before. His hands trembled slightly as he held his notebook. Some classmates looked at him with curiosity, while others whispered and giggled. Alex felt fear, but he remembered the library, the park bench, and the boy who had been pushed by older kids. I can do this, he thought. When it was his turn, Alex took a deep breath. I have a story, he said softly. He looked at the small group of students. It is about a boy and a small dream. His voice shook at first, but as he spoke, it grew steadier. He told a story about a boy who wanted to learn English, even though life was hard. He used simple words, repeated them carefully, and read from his notebook when he forgot. By the end, the room was silent. No one laughed this time. Mrs. Harris smiled warmly and said, Very good, Alex. You spoke with courage and heart. Alex could hardly believe it. His classmates nodded, and a few clapped quietly. That small moment made him feel stronger than he ever had. He realized that speaking English was not just about words, it was about courage. After school, Alex walked home slowly, thinking about the story he had told. On the way, he saw Mr. Lee, the local store owner, who often gave him small jobs like cleaning or carrying boxes. Mr. Lee smiled and said, "I heard you spoke today in class. Good job, Alex." Gestures. He drew from every memory: his mother's struggle, Emma's encouragement, the city competition, and the quiet wisdom of Mr. Adams. The day of the contest arrived. The hall was enormous, filled with students, teachers, and cameras. Alex took a deep breath as he stepped on stage. His hands trembled slightly, but his heart was steady. He began telling his story, a young boy facing hardships, learning responsibility, and growing through patience and love. He spoke clearly, slowly, and with emotion. Every word reflected lessons learned from his life, making the story real and relatable. Halfway through, Alex noticed people leaning forward, listening intently. Some smiled, some nodded, and a few even had tears in their eyes. He realized that his words were touching hearts. He continued, speaking about hope, courage, and kindness, about how small efforts could bring great changes. By the end, the hall erupted in applause. Alex felt a warmth in his chest. He had not only told a story but shared a piece of his soul. The judges praised Alex for his authenticity, emotion, and ability to inspire others. He won first place, but more importantly, he felt a deep sense of accomplishment. It was not the trophy that mattered most. It was knowing that his story could motivate others to try, to care, and to never give up. Returning home, Alex carried his prize with pride, but he also carried wisdom and gratitude. He had learned that true success was not measured by awards, money, or recognition, but by the positive impact one had on the lives of others. He hugged his mother and Emma tightly, sharing every detail of the contest, the people he met, and the lessons he had learned. Inspired by his journey, Alex decided to create a small community center in his hometown, a place where children and young adults could learn, read, and grow. He named it the Hope Center, a tribute to everyone who had supported him and taught him the value of care and perseverance. The center had books, art supplies, and spaces for storytelling. Alex taught English, shared stories, and encouraged the children to dream big, just as he had learned to do. Years went by, and Alex saw many children grow into confident, kind, and capable young adults. Some had struggled as he once did, but with guidance and encouragement, they found their path. Alex remembered the first steps he took, the quiet lessons from his mother, Emma, and Mr. Adams, and the importance of patience, honesty, and hard work. He realized that every act of kindness, every small effort, could create a ripple of change in the world. One evening, sitting in the garden of the Hope Center, Alex watched children laugh and play, older students read under the trees, and teachers guiding with patience. He felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Life had not been easy, but every struggle, setback, and challenge had led him here. He smiled quietly, knowing that the journey had been worth it. Alex understood that the greatest victories were not trophies or awards but the ability to inspire, to care, and to build a better world for others. He had started as a boy with dreams, faced hardships, and learned life's lessons step by step. Now, he was a mentor, a guide, and a source of hope for many. As the sun set, painting the sky in golden hues, Alex whispered to himself, "Dreams matter, effort matters, and love matters most." The children's laughter echoed in the garden, a living proof of hope, courage, and a life changed through small steps, hard work, and the power of kindness. The story of Alex became more than a tale of personal success. It became a story of hope, perseverance, and the quiet strength that lives in every heart willing to dream, care, and act. And so, life continued in the Hope Center, with laughter, learning, and love, reminding everyone that even small beginnings could grow into something extraordinary.